Thank you, Deputy Speaker. And this is a bill about road safety. But if we really want to talk about road safety, we need to talk about the elephant in the room. The deteriorating, dangerous condition of rural and regional roads. Everyone I speak to in South West Coast, whether it's local councils, farmers, residents, bus drivers, truck drivers, grey nomads, they all say the same thing. Fix our roads and fix them properly. Road safety is of critical importance, and this bill does a number of things that no one would argue with. You know, distracted drivers causes accidents. People not wearing seatbelts, astounding. I don't think anyone in this House has said anything different. It's just such an automatic thing to do when you get into the car is put your seatbelt on. I still do it even if I'm in a paddock because it's just what you've done every time you get into a car. So it's good to see that we have a bill in the House that will hopefully improve the road safety issues. But I totally think we're ignoring some of the issues here. The evidence, some of it does say that the road safety isn't around roads being bad, but I struggle to believe that. And when I talk to the Australian Research Roads Board, and they talk to me about how we assess accidents and what are the ways our police are asked or have to assess a scene, you know, it's not actually capturing the information that we do need to be able to determine an incident. And if you've travelled on the country roads like I do, obviously, every day, and you see the crumbling shoulders, you see the size of the potholes, it's no wonder that if you hit a pothole doing 100 kilometres an hour, which is the road speed, it's quite it does distract you. It does make you get very nervous. And I can see somebody having an accident 100 metres down the road because they've lost control of the car. But that's not how we assess an accident scene. We don't go back 100 metres and say that pothole, that crumbling shoulder, that lack of white lines is probably what resulted in the situation of someone being severely injured or even dying. So I think road safety is important, but road surfaces, obviously, but road surfaces can't be ignored. And my one plea to the government, through the chair, is that in the May budget, that decent funding gets put into regional roads so that the roads can be fixed properly once. So we don't have to go back weeks, hopefully not any. Weeks is exactly what we see, actually. Weeks, sometimes months, and have to fix the same bit of road. It's a waste of taxpayers' money. And, you know, if you look at the Auditor General's report of 2017, where they said in 5 years' time, 90-something%, I think it was, of the roads in the regions will be in a poor condition. Well, we're pretty much there now, and that's because there's no processes in place. There's no supervision of the works. There's no accountability. There's no monitoring of the works. Now, it's not that hard to build a road. We've got the technology. They do it in South Australia. They do it in Northern Territory. They do it in Germany. We can do it in Victoria, but we're not. And South West Victorians, along with all regional Victorians, are sick to death of seeing the money that goes into the city to build tunnels, to build infrastructure, the waste of those projects when they go over budget, when, you know, the $24 billion that's currently the waste dollar that we're seeing over budgeted amounts going into Melbourne projects is $24 billion. When regional Victorians see that, they just think, how many roads could have been done well once with that money? I think safety is something none of us are going to argue about. None of us are going to want to see our children, our friends, our kids that are on school buses at risk. But when you're seeing school bus drivers, like in my area, not wanting to take on the role, terrified of the responsibility they have because roads like the Hayward-Woolsthorpe Road are just too terrifying when you see how deep the shoulders are. And I'm talking probably a foot at least in some places. When you are on a road that's B-double permitted, and they have a right to be there, but there's not even room for a white line down the middle. So mums and bus drivers and dads are taking their kids to and from school with B-doubles coming at them. It's actually terrifying. You know, I remember when one of my sons started driving and we were going along the Hamilton Highway on the way to Melbourne, he hit a pothole at 100 kilometres an hour, and he absolutely, don't know how to say this without using an inappropriate word. He absolutely got a very big fright and swore and said, gee, that was it, but I wasn't going to say it. Thank you very much, Member for Lara. Can you put that in the Hansard for me? Can I quote you? He crapped his dax. He absolutely did. And, you know, he was 21 at the time because he was quite late getting his licence, and he just said, Mum, these roads are horrendous. And I thought, wow, you know, this is what people contend with every single day, but it's not until you get behind the wheel, as he had just done, that he realised how bad it was. So I invite, and I do this very regularly in the Parliament, I invite the Minister for Roads to come, through the chair, to come to the regions, drive our roads, talk to the mums, talk to the families, and see that what we need is the roads fixed properly. It's a basic fundamental right. And now that people are discovering the beauty of the regions and moving to the regions and holidaying in the regions, they're discovering that, but they're also worried about how to handle driving on country roads. So we've got roads, like I've said, the Woolsthorpe-Hayward Road, the Karamat Road, the Warrnambool-Hopkins Highway, the road to Mortlake, that is, the Henty Highway, the highway either side of Hayward. Just the roads, in fact, somebody said to me once, which roads need fixing? And I said, it's probably easier for me to tell you which roads don't need fixing, because it's just so bad right across the region. And when we see $1 billion going into wire rope barriers, and then they're an appropriate tool in the appropriate place. But when you've got a bucket of money that's got to be spent on wire rope barriers, and a bucket of money that's got $1 billion in it, and a bucket of money that's got very little in it that needs to be spent, that can only be spent on road surfaces, and the two don't marry up. I remember being in the member for East Gippsland's region when I was the Shadow Minister for Rural Roads, and I saw the roads that were having wire rope barriers on them, and the surface work was not done first. So now those roads are crumbling because they don't have the foundation in place to support the wire rope barriers. It's illogical, and when you just see the amount of mess on the sides of the roads where these barriers are, where there just isn't the money to fix them, because that comes out of the other bucket of money that has very little in it. So things like Country Roads and Bridges program that in the 2010-2014 Parliament, where we had Dennis Napthine and Ted Baillieu in charge, we saw the Country Roads and Bridges program that the councils to this day say to me, Roma, that was great. We could fix the roads properly. We could tell you where the money was needing to go. We understood our region, so we determined where it was best spent. That's the sort of project management that we want to see back. We don't want to see the country ignored. We don't want to see all the money going to the city. It's got to be more fair and equitable. And until the government recognises that, and my hope is that in this May budget that the Minister for Roads puts enough money into regional roads so that we can get our roads up to standard. We're sick to death of seeing the waste. We're sick to death of them falling apart with the first rains of winter, being told that it's an unusual winter, because as I keep saying, in Western Victoria, we grow grass well, we feed cows well, because we do get a lot of rain. We know that that's going to happen every year. The government are just not putting enough money into fixing these roads and doing it well once. The roadside vegetation management is another area. If you let the vegetation get away, then water is captured on the side of the road. And if you haven't got the road camber right, and you've got flat ground on either side, and it's not graded and it's not managed, you get water undermining the road and it falls apart. These are really basic sort of stuff. Many farmers do this every day on their land, and they say this to me. They say, Roma, why aren't they grading the side of the road? Why aren't they doing it well once? Don't they know how to build roads anymore? Don't they understand it? And I say to them, I'm saying that in the Parliament all the time. They're just not interested in prioritising the country, and they say to me, well, Roma, go down there and tell them this. Fix the bloody road and fix it well once. So I've delivered that message.